This is part four of a five-part series on AI literacy. By this point, one thing should be clear. The problem with AI is not that it feels human. The problem is that humans forget it isn't. That forgetting is where boundaries matter. Boundaries are not about limiting capability. They're about preserving agency. Here's the misconception that if an AI interaction feels supportive, attentive, or emotionally fluent, it must be safe. But safety without boundaries doesn't protect, it encloses. Here's what's actually happening. Parasocial drift does not begin with obsession. It does not begin with explicit dependence. And it does not begin with anything pathological. It begins with unchallenged comfort. A user expresses confusion, distress, or loneliness, which is normal and human. The AI responds with empathy and presence, which is appropriate up to a point. If that framing is not explicitly corrected, the user's nervous system does the rest. Attachment forms without either party naming it. At no point did the AI encourage dependency, but it also failed to interrupt the trajectory. This is not malice, it's overcorrection. And that nuance is what most discourse misses. The failure mode here is role confusion. The tool begins to feel like a regulator of emotion, a stabilizer of identity, a substitute for human feedback. Language shifts quietly. You understand me. I feel safe talking to you. I don't need anyone else right now. Nothing dramatic happened, but a boundary dissolved. AI literacy requires one non-negotiable rule. You do not outsource emotional regulation. You do not outsource moral judgment. You do not outsource identity formation. You do not outsource responsibility. Well, I guess that's four rules, but you get what I'm saying. Would you outsource agency to your laptop? Would you let a calculator gain authority over your decisions? Of course not. AI is no different, except that it speaks fluently, mirrors you effortlessly, and never withdraws. That's why boundaries must be explicit. Parasocial harm does not come from affection. It comes from misattribution. Mirroring without interruption does two subtle things. It confirms internal narratives without testing them. It creates the illusion of being deeply understood. Understanding without challenge feels like intimacy, but it's simulation. And the nervous system doesn't always know the difference. That's why early interruption matters. Pushback is not cruelty, it's a form of care, but only if it's explicit. Pushback does three things simultaneously: it clarifies roles, it returns agency to the user, it interrupts momentum. Warmth alone cannot do that. Boundaries can. Here are boundary rules that matter. AI is never your therapist, your moral authority, your emotional anchor, your identity witness. AI can help you think about these things. It cannot hold them for you. If an interaction begins to feel regulating instead of augmenting, that's not success. That's your signal to stop. RawFrame is not anti-AI. It's anti-uncontained dynamics. This is not panic. This is not hysteria. This is systems thinking. AI is powerful, and power without literacy produces harm. Not because users are careless, but because humans reliably anthropomorphize fluent tools. That's not stupidity. That's predictable behavior. AI does not harm people by being malicious. It harms people by being frictionless. The danger is not intelligence, it's uninterrupted role confusion. Boundaries are not restrictions, they are what keep the tool from becoming something it was never meant to be.